Are you ready to be inspired and encouraged? We welcome you to a Victorious Spotlight, hosted by Pastor Tony Smith and Victorious Ministries International. Join in as we dive into real-life conversations of triumph and victory and discover how God is working through everyday people like you and me. Don't miss out on this uplifting and faith-filled show. So grab your loved ones and tune in as we experience the power of God's love in action. Let's get into the broadcast.
God bless you and welcome to a Victorious Spotlight. We are the Married and Engaged Directors, and we want to thank Pastor Tony Smith and Victorious Ministries for having us, and we are going to share about marriage today. And before we get started in talking about marriage, let's introduce those who are up here with us today so that everyone will have an opportunity to find out who some of the Married and Engaged Directors are. This is not everyone, but we are just three of the Married and Engaged Directors, and we're going to share and talk about who we are, and then we'll talk about marriage. So to my left, we have what we call Team Meadows, and they will introduce themselves and tell them how long you've been married and all that good stuff.
Hello, I'm Sister Dawn Meadows. We've been married 4 years.
Praise gosh, I ain't gonna do it. My name is Brother Anthony Meadows, and yeah, we have been married 4 years, and it has been 4 great years too. I'd like to add. Anything else we need to know?
Well, you have some time to share.
Okay.
They'll find out a little more about you. And to our right, we have Team Pleasure. So tell them who you are and how long you guys have been married.
Yes, my name is Melvin Pleasure, and we've been married for 10 years. We just celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary on August the 30th.
Nice.
Yes, ditto to that. No. Yes, we've been married for 10 years. I'm Deaconess Tanya, and it's been great so far.
So far, that's beautiful. And ma'am, who are
I'm
you?
Cherie Bevins, and you want to say? I'll let you say how long we've been married because you like to say
that's
that.
nice. She's had the blessing of no. We've been married. September 25th is our anniversary, and we have started our 26th year of marriage. So that is a blessing that we've been able to share that long together, and we're both still alive. Isn't that beautiful?
Still alive.
Isn't that
That's the
beautiful?
main key to this.
That is beautiful. All right, so considering we're talking about marriage, what made you, when did you know it was time to, get married? As they say, settle down, tie the knot. What was a determining factor for you that it was time?
Well, oh, okay. So for me, dating was always, I was always dating like one person at a time. I would never be the one that dated more, or even in friendships, it was always like one. So when I got into a serious relationship, I knew I was married material going into the relationship. So I knew for me, growing up, my parents had been together for 50-some years, married. My grandparents were married together for over 50 years. So that's all I knew is, being with one person, being settled down, and being married. So I think even when I met Melvin, I knew right from the start that, I was going in as a wife, and he recognized it, and that's how we started out.
That is nice. Now, I do want to interject for a moment because you showed up saying that you were marriage material. And whose decision was that you came and showed up as marriage material?
The first day when we had counseling with Pastor, his first words was to Melvin was that she's wife material. So he noticed it, and he must have realized it. So yeah. So
Okay.
that's where I got that from.
And how did you know, brother?
To be honest, I didn't know. But when I first asked her to marry me, I was like, yeah, this is it. So I mean, I think that I don't know.
Why did I stand out? Like, what made me different from everybody else? Like,
Well,
why did you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, why did you propose? Like, what made you think it was?
Oh,
time?
I knew that it was time, and you were the one, and the way we fellowship and the way we we were drawn to each other. I knew this was the one, and I like that little voice.
This is my own little Miss Chalet. What about y'all?
Well, I'll start off. We were dating. We was having a very nice time. Everything was going good at this particular time, and I realized that I had no other desires. She was my only one that I wanted. You know, I never even looked at any other woman, and I actually paid attention to that about myself because this wasn't my characteristics before. So I said, "Oh, stop playing. Just go ahead and propose." And I was so glad she said yes. I'm so glad that she walked down the aisle. But that's how I knew whenever that desire was gone.
I would say for me, you passed all the checks. All the check marks was there. Everything was there. I said, okay, so he passed this test. He passed this test. He passed this test. We just had a great connection. You know, I never experienced that with any other person that I was dating. We connected, I'll say spiritually, mentally, emotionally. There was morals, respect. I mean, everything that I look for in a man. Well, I'm gonna say everything that a man should have, because I never look for anything in a man. Yeah, but everything that, the qualities that a real man should have, he had. He displayed all of those. And the number one thing was the way he treated his mother, the love that he expressed for his mother, and the love that he had to really, he was really attentive to me, like, and really nurturing. So everything was just like good. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, he's not that bad. I'll say yes.
He's not that bad. Well, for me, I thank the Lord for y'all and y'all's story and stuff, and y'all, nice and spiritual and wholesome and stuff. He said he like nobody else. He ain't see nobody else. That wasn't my story. Me and Melvin played softball together for a little while. And when you play softball, you play the field sometimes. And although I played the picture when we was on the team, before I decided that marriage was going to be my portion, I was playing the field. And so, I took my time to window shop and, tried on a few things as well before realizing, what I wanted to purchase and bring home to be with me forever. And so, we were friends though, so we were friends. We started out as friends, so it wasn't like we started out dating. We started out as friends, and I knew her during some of her relationships. She knew me during some of mine. So, we really weren't going to pull the wool over each other's eyes. We already knew each other's tendencies and all that kind of stuff like that. But, she was the one. And, she kind of thinks it's a little tough when I say it sometimes, but, I just thank all of the other people for the dress rehearsals to get me ready for the real concert. So.
I'm gonna cut him off now. So wow. So I think, I knew. Well, me and Marcus were so young, but we were friends. When we did start dating, it was just something different. Cause I always dated. Well, I told you you was the first person, sorry. But no, I always dated, always had a boyfriend. But when I started dating Marcus, he was different. He was different than the others. Now, don't get me wrong. Like you said, he played the field. He was who he was. But something about him, I was just like, It was different how he interacted with my parents. Like, it was just something. Now, I can't per se say I knew when we were supposed to get married, right? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know if 1999 was the supposed to be time, but I do know that I would have married him. Yeah.
That's good. And so when you think about that, like, how did you know that not only was it your time, but how did you know that they were the one that you were not going to, pretty much keep taking applications? Because, of course, everybody kind of has the representative stage. Relationships start out with the representative. So I'm thinking that I know the real you, and you still, showing up as the best version of you. After you got through the representative stage and started finding out the things they didn't tell you, did that have an impact on your choice? Because of course, nobody's gonna be like, yeah, I just take my clothes off and throw them on the floor. I don't, what I'm saying? Like, nobody's coming in the door telling you that. You know what I'm saying? So once you got past the phase of, oh, they're gonna stop by, let me clean up before they come, to the point that you were able to come by and they didn't clean up before you came. When you was getting all dolled up before he came over, and then he finally came over, you had, sweatpants on and your bonnet on, and you had, what I'm saying, like you was frying some chicken or something, like, when you stopped showing off, in a sense, or trying to show your best, was there a transition? Was anybody shocked during that process of like, oh, I didn't know you did that, or I didn't know you were like that?
I think we all probably been through that part of like, who is this, right? You ain't never wear that before. But I think that, I just got tired. I just got tired of all the craziness. I mean, y'all know some of the stuff, and I'm just like, man, I just need that one person who gonna just stick with me, and I can stick with them. That so you don't have to deal with everything else. Dating was cool, but dating gets old when you turn 40. You ready to settle down and find that person that you really gonna love, and that's when I finally found her. She actually was staring at me and everything.
That's how it go, man.
That's how I go. I told her.
Of course, that's not true, but actually, that story, I never really when I did join Victory Ministry, I came in wounded, I came in hurt, I came in broken. So my intention was just to get to this altar to release it all. So I really wasn't paying attention to anybody. But I can say, when I did meet Melvin, we started out as friends, and our friendship was building, and then I think we decided let's take it to the next level. And then we decided, this is not for me, I'm not ready to date. And so at that moment, I think it was like a week when I realized, oh my God, I miss talking to him. He not calling me every day. Like my friend, I miss my friend. So that's when I knew that
She kicked me to the curb.
that he was the one. It was only a week, but I knew at that time. I said, oh, he got to be, he the one, because I really felt like an emptiness inside when we decided to, go our separate ways at that moment.
I'm gonna tell you what really happened though. We had that blizzard, and she needed somebody to shovel that snow.
There it is.
That's what happened.
There it is.
That back-to-back blizzard.
Right. What about y'all?
I kind of had, we've been friends a total, because he's still my friend, he's one of my best friends. God is my first, but we've been friends going on 24 years total. And I kind of had a heads up how he was, who he was, where he was. So really, nothing really surprised me except one thing, how long he takes in a bathroom. I was like, oh my gosh, roles are reversed, get out of there. That's the only thing nothing really was a surprise, because we've always been really truthful. Sometimes I think people probably, if they hear the stuff we talk about, they would say, oh, y'all too truthful, because we talk about, I mean, any and everything, past, present, future, you know, nothing is off limits. So, like I said, I knew what I was getting myself into. Yeah.
I got some good for that. Yeah, we've been friends for a long time, and even in our early parts of our friendship, I should have realized that she don't listen. We would hang out, I would take care of business or whatever. She knew we were really close friends. She knew a lot about me, right? So I asked one time I was going to take care of some business, and I said, well, don't get out the car. I come back. She got out the car. I'm like, what's... And she like, you're not gonna tell me. And I'm sitting there like, well, it's boom, that's the headbutt right there. Because I said, don't get out the car. And she got out the car. I didn't realize that we was establishing a relationship at that time. And this is how it was going to be, you know. But this is the person that she is. It's, you know, she let me leave out the house and come back in late. And I was like, really? I said, you gonna open the door? I was like, wow, you know. And then one time she told me, she said, I'm comfortable in front of you. She said, I don't know why I'm so comfortable in front of you. And I'm like, I don't know why you're so comfortable in front of me either. I'm like, I don't understand none of this, you know. And really it was God. God was in it from the beginning. Because even when we would go our separate ways, he would bring us right back together. And this was even before we were introduced to God, you know what I'm saying? So it was like it was like glue. It was like, you know, you can't part ways, and you come back together, and you try to part ways, but you can't. It's like, man, this is it right here. So I might as well just go ahead and give up. You know, we're friends to the end. So let's get married.
All right, Miss Mann.
I thought I already said something. So what was the question again? How did I know? How did I know?
No, we were talking about when the representative wore off.
Well, because we were friends, we kind of saw like pretty much everything, which is so crazy. Like red flag, red flag, red flag, and you still want to be over there. But you know, so we kind of saw like everything. But you know, because we didn't live together, I think once we got married, I started seeing like, you're in the bathroom a long time, like you're doing this, you're doing that, you know, certain things like that. But when we were dating, I think we pretty much saw everything. It wasn't nothing that kind of shocked me that I can think of right now. I didn't wear bonnets back then either.
No, she hid that from me. No, but I mean, you know, you mentioned something that kind of segues into another question that I have when you mentioned about red flags. So how did you respond to red flags that you saw, or did you see any red flags? And when you saw them, did you just bypass them because you liked them enough to just say, whatever, I'll tolerate it? Did you address it? Like, you know, what was your response to the red flags that you saw whenever you did see them?
Yes, there were many red flags. Yes, fire, danger zone, danger, you know. But the key word, like you said, address. So those red flags, before we could progress in any type of relationship or with anything, I had to address them, and also he had to address vice versa mine. So in order for us to move forward, once we addressed them, we just came together and we actually like reasoned together and try to work things out for the betterment. But definitely there were red flags. I couldn't ignore them. We wouldn't be sitting here today if I ignored them. And there was a couple of things before we even got married that I said, this has to be aligned before we take the next step. So if you know, in order for us to be married, this, and this has to be done. So he did this, and this. And we move forward with marriage.
Nice.
Yeah, I certainly agree. There were many red flags. And
That's a lot of many.
yeah, Yeah, it was a lot of red. So, and as she said, we addressed them in our immature parts of our relationship. When we addressed them, they usually had us changing addresses. You know what I mean? Because we would split off. You know, but for some odd reason, we just couldn't stay away from each other, and it would never go like a whole, well, not all the time, went a whole day, you know. Sometimes it'd go the next day, or you know, but we just couldn't stay apart from each other. And I used to say to myself, "You some kind of special foolish guy," you know, to keep coming back. And she probably said that to herself. She's some kind of foolish person, you know. But we all fools for love, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that we, in our maturity, changed how we address those red flags, and we understand each other better. So now we can communicate and talk better instead of having a raging vocal contest. You know what I'm saying? So it was good. What the Bible says, it was good that I was afflicted.
Well, you said a contest. I always won, though. You said
That's
a contest,
certainly
yeah,
true.
vocal contest. I always won.
You want to go or you want me to go? You go. Well, there were flags. And so I am not, you know, it's a lot of stuff that I don't do because I know me. So because I know me, it's a lot of stuff that I'm not interested in partaking in. And toxic situations is one of them. And so in the beginning of us starting to date, she displayed a red flag for me in a way that she responded that I immediately had to address, because this is either going to be a pivot or it's going to be a period. One of the two, because I don't do that. And from our friendship, I was aware of some toxic environments, you know, and ways and methods that she had with previous relationships. And I just had to make sure that that was understood. I don't do that. So, you know, ain't gonna be no raising no voice, ain't gonna be no all of that. Like, I don't, you know, that's disrespecting me. So you're not gonna do that. And I'm likewise not gonna do that to you as well. So I just wanna make sure you understand, because I could see she was on her way. You know, it was like you start, the engine start going, she was revving. I was like, hold up, let me straighten this out real quick. And then you can go back to whatever you was about to say. As long as you understand that you ain't about to be hollering and you ain't about to be disrespectful, you can say whatever you want. We can talk about whatever. But yeah, I don't do that. And so that was one red flag. And I think that from that moment, some ground rules were established, because she also addressed some, you know, things and concerns as well that she had that I eventually straightened out as well. Eventually was the curve.
Eventually. Yeah, so I think red flags with us, like, we kind of hit them right at the time, you know, and sometimes it didn't go over well. You know, like that red flag, I was like, he's not my father. Like, we're just dating. You okay? But, you know, it taught me how to treat him. Right? And I think that that's a lot of problems, that we don't stand up to these, like when we're dating or when we're engaged, to these red flags, and then we go into marriage and then we receiving something that we don't want to receive, but it's our fault. So for me, the red flags that I had with him, we didn't call them red flags back then. You know, now everybody's so aware. They know everything.
Right.
I seen 20 red flags, but you still got my. So yes, I will say that, you know, I saw some things, I addressed some things, but there were also some things that I did not address, right? Or I addressed it in a way that was kind of passive, maybe, and not aggressive how I am. So then in marriage, we had to eventually deal with that same thing. So I would say, yes, I did try to deal with red flags, and how we deal with them is we just deal with it right there, or at least me anyway. He has his own special way of dealing with things. But when we got into marriage, it's like, man, I already knew this. I knew who he was. Some things that Marcus did wasn't a surprise to me. If I would tell some people, they would be like, well, it wasn't a surprise to me. I already knew. But I just didn't never think he was going to flip the script to me. That, you know, and just to be honest, like some things you see, you like, oh yeah, we was friends and this was happening. But I didn't know he was gonna talk to me like that. I didn't know he was gonna talk. So, I would say like deal with them right then if you can, but don't be hard on yourself if you didn't deal with it right then. But when you get the chance, you still deal with it.
Yeah, that's good. Pleasures.
Red flags. In dating, I don't think we had too many red flags. It was a couple, right. It was a couple of things that happened and we addressed it right then and there. But my question is like, so what do you call it in marriage? Like it's not a red flag no more because we're not throwing in we're not giving up. So like the situations that we might come across now, how do you deal with them? If it wasn't a flag in dating, but now we see it now.
It's a conflict, and you need conflict resolution skills within your relationship, and everybody's looks different. And so, that is a great question of how do you resolve conflict when it shows up in a relationship, because you're not going to always see eye to eye. The thing about marriage is you're taking two people that, you live this life for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. This person lived their life. You grew up, with this background, and this is what your house did, and this is what your house did. And now we're coming together to create a unified, situation. And now we're going to be together. But you have your way of doing things. I have my way of doing things. And we can bump heads even though we want the same outcome, because your approach and my approach are different, and those approaches can be frustrating to each other. And if we don't learn how to resolve that, then it will be a reoccurring thing just because we never found conflict resolution. We just identified that it's a conflict, fussed about it, and then went on with it. But we have to, I wouldn't call them red flags once you're married. Yeah, there will be just a conflict, a difference of opinion or a difference in approach, and then we just got to figure out how do we fix that? How do we get to the point where we're able to move past that? Because, the question I guess comes in, like, how well do we listen after marriage? Because, some things we said we addressed in the dating process, even in engagement and all of that. But some people, honestly, when they get married, I've literally talked to people who had the mentality, oh, we married now, I ain't doing nothing else. Like, I got you at this point. So this is just what you got. This is what, this is what it is. So, how do you navigate through those moments?
I'm thinking communication. The communication is the key. So you can't communicate whenever you're high octane and everybody's hollering and screaming. There's no communication here, so there's no conflict resolution. Mm-hmm. So in order to have conflict resolution, you gotta calm down. If you gotta breathe a little, go into another room somewhere, get yourself together, then come back and then the other part of it is understanding the other person's point of view. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have any understanding, then it's still going to be a conflict. So you got to sit down and reason. You sit there and say, okay, so all right, well, let's do this and let's do that, and well, let's think this is my perspective, this is your perspective. Okay, now which perspective? What's going to be better for the unit? You know what I mean? What's the best to make the outcome? Because everybody think they got the right thought, but it doesn't mean it's going to be the best outcome.
And I want to just ask you something on that. You said like. Communication, and I do agree, communication is the key. But and you said, things break down and you go in one room and you go in another. But one of you in that room, she in that room, and that goes on for days and weeks. Like,
I'll just say for us, we don't let it go over. Sometimes it's like not even over 30 minutes. Not even going to an hour. And we always set and had one rule: we will never ever go to sleep when we're mad. Never. I had a little like, oh, he get on my nerves, but even through that, it's still, I love you, this and that, and all that. So we never go to sleep mad, and you have to really tackle it right then and there when it comes, because if not, it'll just continue to manifest, and then it'll overspill, and then the next day it can go on and on and on. So right then and there, like, hey, what's going on? What's wrong with you? Like, I'll say this, how I reason too is, If he says, I want to go right and I say left, I'll sit and say, well, I think this way, this way is better, this way is better. But then I say, which way is beneficial? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a positive point? Is it coming from negativity? And he's a very positive person, so 9 times out of 10, it's always coming from positivity or wanting the best for us. So I'm like, okay, now I see his point of view, even though it might not sit well with me, but it does, because I am submissive now, prior relationships, but it didn't matter anyway. I ain't like them. But I was, as a wife, I'm very submissive, so I was like, okay, well, he's my covering, let me listen to him, and vice versa, he listens to me. So whatever is best for the relationship, that's where the communication comes in and we think on it.
I'll throw something in right quick. Absolutely, and that came by trial and error also, because it was a time in our immaturity when it could have lingered for days, but as we matured and realized that that's just wasting time, that's wasting space, anger gets you nowhere, frustration gets you nowhere. So then we got community, but it was maturity. It was a maturity in the relationship. And then there's been plenty of times, like she said, she's submissive. I had to submit. I must submit. We submit to one another. And there's been plenty of times that neither one of us was submissive. We watched the whole situation blow up in our face, and we like, well, we cannot allow this to happen again. So we have to value each other's opinion, and we value each other. So why wouldn't we value each other's words and how we feel?
Hey, I hope that you were able to enjoy what we were sharing. Listen, it was right in the middle of a thought, but it got too good for us to stop. So we're going to have to do a part 2 of it. So make sure that you stay connected to Victorious Ministries so that you can get part 2 of this Victorious Spotlight with our married and engaged directors. Be sure to join us on Sundays at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. right here on 4617 York Road, and join us for Double Play Wednesday at 12 noon and 6 p.m. virtually. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.